So Chuck, if any of the robot vacuum companies want to send you something and you end up with a spare, let me know because my robot vacuum died a couple days ago. It
Oh,
kind
yeah.
of had a stroke.
I
I'm
witnessed it.
sorry.
I witnessed it firsthand too.
Oh my God, you did.
Was there any smoke involved?
It was a little bit.
No.
Yeah, I saw
Well,
some.
oh, I'm sorry. I thought you meant like Dave sitting there going, okay, it's going to
Because
be fine.
we stopped at the dispensary.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. Yeah, that's what I thought.
Oh my gosh. Let me get this up.
Whoa.
Yeah, I'm not above using a review unit to fix my current technology problem.
Was that was a review you had the whole time?
Yeah.
Oh wow, cool.
They got a good review.
Yeah. How long did it last?
I want to say this is 8 years old, 10 years old.
No, God, you got
Wow.
yeah, it's free and you got your
bet
money's worth.
It's 10 years old. So it's a D-Bot R95,
Recording in progress.
I think.
Mhm.
Oh.
And it's an old enough D-Bot that not only is it not supported, but good luck finding parts for it.
Yeah. So you're due.
But I mean, it's been a tank. It has been a workhorse, and it has performed so well that even though there are newer robot vacuums out there that have many more capabilities, although this is pretty well-rounded features, I just couldn't justify replacing it because it works so well.
Well, you know, the new ones that last a long time have that levitation unit. They never touch the floor. You never have to empty them.
What?
Are you talking about a dog?
All right.
My cat
Dave,
used to polish the floors.
I don't know when you're going to hit me up. Give me just a minute.
Oh,
I
I'll give
want
you
to pull
time.
something up. I just want to pull something up here so I have a.
Thanks.
And it's.
No, wait a second.
Let's try. Come on.
Yeah, I just put in the notes. We're gonna do inside baseball here. Just give us some insight of the show. Inside of the show and
Yeah, I
a few
just
cool
wanna-
things. You know.
Yeah, I want to make sure that I have, I have something for you.
Yep.
Oh my, nothing is easy, right?
If it were, then everyone would do it.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Except for the really lazy people.
I like
Got
They
it.
still
Okay.
wouldn't do it.
And then we would just ridicule them.
I'm getting bad glare in my glasses, aren't I?
Okay, thank you.
Oh, thank you. All right, ready to go. Let's bring up where the notes go. Here we go. All right, here we go. In 5, 4, 3, 2. Welcome to episode 404 of In Touch with iOS, the show, the podcast that keeps you connected to the ever-changing Apple ecosystem. I am your host, Dave Ginsburg. Each week, we break down the latest news, updates, tips, and hidden features across iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, Mac, Vision Pro, and Apple TV, all with insights from friends, experts, and the Apple community. Because here, we read the release notes so you don't have to. So let's see who's here this week. I'm going to just start right away. Welcome back, Chuck Joyner. How you doing, Chuck? You're back from CES. How you been?
I am back. I made it through, and I have only a moderate cough to show for the days in Vegas.
That's
So-
good. Sounds like a lot of people didn't have too much trouble either.
Yeah, I know a couple that did, but for the most part, I think a lot of us came through relatively unscathed.
Yeah. So that's awesome. And also Jill McKinley's here. How you doing, Jill?
I'm doing great. Had a great new start of the year, and so I'm ready for more technology.
Excellent. And Jeff Gamet is here. This is I think day 6 since we've been together here. How you doing?
Oh,
We have, let's see, today is
It's Thursday.
Thursday. So we've been hanging out every day since last Friday.
That's right.
Yeah. Also, I'm surprised any of us were able to make it here today, that we were able to find the episode because it is 404.
Oh, that's a good one.
Wow.
Huh.
Nice one.
Jill, how did you not come up with that joke before me?
I know. I feel bad. Well, first I thought, no, that's 420. Oh, I get it now.
Don't worry,
Eric's
that one's
isn't it?
coming up, and we'll have jokes for that too.
Okay.
There goes Eric.
And snacks. Lots of snacks.
Yeah, lots of snacks. Let's see if he can recover from that. Eric Bolden is here. How you doing, Eric? Glad you're here.
Good. Got to time my drinking better, though.
Yeah,
Wow.
you do.
No, I think you're
And
doing
what-
great.
And what bird do you have behind you today?
Let's see. Ooh, that was the white-throated sparrow. Still eating. Started eating earlier in the week. Still eating, which is maybe why it's nice, happy, and plump.
Yeah.
Love white-throated sparrows.
And we are going to give a shout. I want to give a shout out to Marty Jencius. He's a little under the weather today, so he could not make it. But we're going to miss him here. But hopefully he's listening, and we'll get you back next week. But feel better, buddy. So we're a lot. Oh my God, there was so much news this week from Apple, especially some new hot releases and beta and a lot of other stuff, and we also have so many other topics to talk about. But the big thing that was going on was CES, and we covered a little bit of it last week. I just took it from a lot of the press releases and websites about the stuff. But Chuck, we always lean on you a little bit because you spent the entire week in Las Vegas, and there was so much great stuff going on. I know the show starts off with CES Unveiled. I kind of cross the sessions you went. So CES Unveiled, how did that turn out? Because I heard some people were not too excited about this year, but others they weren't too bad. How did that session go?
Dave, some of this is so subjective because it kind of depends on your interests. And there were things there that really had no relevance to any of my audience or anything that I was particularly interested in.
Sure.
There were others that were, I thought really, really good. It's always an interesting dance to try to figure out, do you want to talk to them at Unveiled? Do you want to try to talk to them on the show floor when theoretically they have a little bigger presence and, there's maybe a little more time? Because Unveiled ends up, as all the press events do, it ends up being sort of a race against the clock.
Right.
And so we ran out of time with actually, come to think of it, we ran out of time at all the events because there were so many vendors there. And so, I'm hesitant to say anything was not good because I think it's in the eye of the beholder. That said, I felt like there were a lot more things that were relevant for my audience and the kind of things I wanted to cover, as opposed to some other folks. I will say this though about Unveiled. Unveiled is kind of unique because you get almost no listing of who's going to be there unless you're reading all the press releases and somebody says we will be at Unveiled and then this event, that event, and on the show floor. So you're trying to figure out, who's and there are some companies that only go to Unveiled. There's some companies that only go to one or the other of the other press events. So trying to do that puzzle is always fun.
Yeah.
So that said, we got some great interviews at Unveiled, trying to make sure that we make connections with old friends and people that we might not get to on the show floor. And, again, it was the one thing you got to remember about Unveiled, though, is that's Unveiled. That's the very first thing that is shown. And so when the rest of the world gets up on Monday morning and watches the news on their local station or national, most things that Unveiled are going to be the things that they see.
Right.
Because it's the first chance. So you have a lot more press with camera crews and clearly broadcast crews there recording interviews or recording B-roll to, put behind whatever they're talking about. So it's probably the most televised or broadcast of the press events.
Yeah, that is. So then you moved on to the show floor and you stayed real busy, I'm sure, on Monday. And then you had the press event that Monday night, which I believe it is PepCom, right?
PepCom was Monday night.
And I heard it was really packed.
Yeah, It was. They really need to make it longer because we had to leave a number of exhibitors on the table that we had on our list because they're just you can't get to them all. But again, some really interesting events. Really interesting products, and it's strange how you see some of these people for 10, 15 minutes maybe once a year, but you all remember each other, and you come back and shaking hands and hugs, and hey, you made it back again, or another year. And so that there was quite a bit of that, and more so at PepCom and Showstoppers.
Yeah.
But some at CES, or pardon me, Unveiled as well. Yeah.
Yep. So what really stood out on PepCom, if you can recall offhand, that you found? I mean, I saw that you got 3 episodes already published. I saw. We're going to make sure I have links to that in the show notes here. I saw you had a bird feeder. That was interesting, and I saw when you recorded it, you were kind of behind a pole.
Yeah, they had. The first 2 interviews we did were actually at the same table, and I didn't realize that until we finished. It's the same company.
Oh, okay.
One does a security. The one side of the company does a security camera that is cellular and wireless. It runs off of a solar panel. And the other side of the company does a connected bird feeder that also runs off of solar. So I kind of love the way they were leveraging the similarities. But yeah, the first one behind the pole, there was just literally no room. So the person you're interviewing and the product are always more important. So I stuck my head out from behind the pole and got on camera for a minute and then took off. The bird feeder was also, you'll see that, again, we're a little bit obscured because there's only so much room. And just to give folks an understanding here, when it comes to all of the press events, everyone there is on an equal footing. They have only so much table space, and that's it. Just like, it's not like the massive booths or the small booths on the show floor. Everybody has the same thing. And so when you have one company trying to display 2 materially different products, it got really cramped in there.
Did you see? I assume you saw our good friend Larry O'Connor at the OWC. Did you talk to him? Also?
We talked to Larry. He was starting to lose his voice at Showstoppers.
That's early.
That's early.
Yep. Yeah. But he ran us through some of the new cool things. Usually when we talk to Larry at CES, he's focusing on a lot more of the high-end stuff. And so we talked to him. We talked to someone they have invested in, and that's going to be an interview that comes out. Okay. And it would take me half the show to explain what it is, but suffice it to say, it was really, really cool.
Stay tuned.
I was looking over the list here, trying to break it down into, let's see, who did we talk to when? I don't remember.
Yeah, it's okay.
It's tough. We had a great visit with Mac Paul.
Awesome.
Talking about Clean My Mac and some of the things that they're doing.
Cool.
We made our annual stop at Nextbase, which is my favorite dash cam. And they just keep bringing out great things. And I'll give a little plug to them because they are working with Mitsubishi to make their dash cams OEM.
Nice.
So that you can walk into a Mitsubishi dealer and say, I want the floor mat, I want, this, I want that, and I want a dash cam. And it'll be installed as a factory install.
Mm-hmm.
So there are a couple other car brands that do that, but not many. And I think it's crazy that they don't, because dash cams are something that in today's world you really need.
Yeah.
Let's see. We had a great conversation with Plod.
Nice.
That was
cool.
That was unveiled. Yes, that was unveiled about what they're doing. They're bringing out a new version that you strap to your wrist, and this is one that you can, while you're talking, you can reach over and touch a button and set a marker during the conversation for something that's really important.
Yeah.
So that looks really great. We talked to Rode. Which I know, Dave, you're using a Rode
microphone. I can't wait to see that one.
Yeah, and they're going to cost you some money. Trust me.
I know.
That's all I'm going to say. Satechi had a really nice
I saw
dock.
yeah, I saw
That,
it.
yeah.
I was tempted to buy
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, there's some very cool. There were a lot of docks at CES
Yeah.
this year, so I think people are figuring that out. That
Yeah,
people want to connect more than just what
They
we
do.
can put on our ports. Um, let's see. We talked to Zebek. They have improved
Oh, yeah.
their
That's that the dual
three.
screen.
There's
Three screen,
their
yeah.
extra dual screen, so that it's better. It's more solid, and it not that there was anything wrong with prior versions, but this one just feels sturdier and more solid. It might be just a little bit heavier,
Yeah.
but I'll take that over fragility any day.
Yeah. Anything Apple centric? How did cases? I'm sure you saw cases galore for iPhones and such.
Dave, we only interviewed one iPhone case vendor, and I'm going to say that as a surprise, because I will say this much, that they were doing something unique with phone cases, from a construction standpoint. But they're really it used to be iPhone case city, and either we didn't find them, or that's become a thing of the past, at least exhibiting at CES.
Yeah, must have.
I have a hypothesis on that, Chuck.
Go for it, Jeff.
I think the cases are harder to find now because, well, first, there was a time when everyone was making an iPod and an iPhone case. Like we make smart toasters and an iPhone case. And so we're beyond that. But the other thing is the whole iLounge pavilion. That's not the thing that it was. Actually, I don't even think it's a thing anymore. And so with the iLounge pavilion, we had that very concentrated area where you walked in, and the joke became, "Oh, it's the iPhone case pavilion."
Yeah.
Okay.
So now it's all just spread out a lot more.
And I think at some point the profit margin is such on cases that they just can't justify coming. They can just. In fact, Spec was one. They had one of those booths inside of booths, but it was like really small, and so
that's different for them.
Yeah, because they've always been a big presence, and they really weren't this time around. I'm looking at my list, and I do want to mention just a couple things specifically.
We'll have one more thing to ask once you get through those.
Okay, well, there's one I want to bring up because they do great products. I love them, and it's STM brands out of Australia.
Yeah.
Great people, great products, but I feel obligated to push and mention that every year they give away skateboards at CES. The line for skateboards is insane because you have to sign a waiver to be given the skateboard.
Yeah, because you could get hurt.
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
How do you get it home?
Well, there's that. But but they give away 2,500 skateboards.
Wow. It wasn't worth waiting for a line for that.
No,
how many of them do you have, Chuck?
Yeah,
you have the collection, don't you?
I do not. But the line is fat. I mean, it's like an hour long. To spend an hour of CES time waiting for a skateboard,
but you don't care about
the promotion works every year.
Yeah, it gets people interested.
Every hour costs so much money at CES, even if you're not a vendor.
Right.
Yes.
I cannot imagine waiting in a line for an hour for anything at CES because there's so many other companies I could be seeing.
Exactly.
Jeff, that's exactly it. That's exactly it. The other company I wanted to point out is Rolling Square. Some of you may know them for their cables. They've expanded into a number of other things, as a number of the exhibitors have. But we met Una last year, and she's been very nice to us, and it was great to see her again, but also to see what they were talking about and showing. One of which is completely off the wall from their usual line. It's a combination digital. It's an analog style digital camera, but you have to load a digital pack in. You can only take 12 shots with it before you have to, or excuse me, maybe 24, before you have to load the next pack in, and then you can print or use the digital versions. So, and it looks like I'm afraid, is it the Olympus? the one that's so hot on TikTok right now that's, very retro.
Yeah.
Mhm. I
Probably
think
an
you're
yeah.
right.
like an OM1 or something.
Yeah. So that was an interesting little twist from them.
So Chuck, I'm
But
trying to visualize that. Is this like so it's like the shape of the film roll that would go in the camera, so you can put it in an SLR, and where the film would be, it's like a digital sensor
mm,
to
no,
load.
no, it's actually the form factor of it's the whole thing, Jeff. The not just what I described film
So it's
wise,
the camera as well.
it's the camera as well.
Yeah.
Huh.
Just like
And
a
it's one of those
DSLR.
that is, yeah, it's not a DSLR. No, it's like a little compact.
Oh, okay.
But it's again, it's so retro, and there's not a lot of the sharpening and all that. They make it very clear that this is supposed to be kind of like your old Kodak snapshots. That
Does it shoot raw? Do you know?
Oh, I don't know. I think it shoots what it shoots, Jeff.
Chuck,
Yeah.
you're letting me down, man. You need to ask all the important questions.
Jeff, there's
I'm
only so
giving
much
you a hard
time.
time. I love you, man.
I know you know what it's like.
Yeah.
Because what we're trying to do is we try to go and take the attitude of, if you came to CES and you're walking around, you see something interesting, you walk up, you get the elevator pitch, and then you move on to the next interesting thing. You don't sit there for 20 or 30 minutes like some people do, that and take up CES time, because there's always a line of people behind you that also want to get the elevator pitch.
Mhm.
So the theory is that if you listen to the interviews we do and you're interested, click the links and go check it out and get all your questions answered. And if you don't, then you just do what you would do at CES. You walk on to the next interesting thing.
Yeah.
Um, I just want to point out, Chuck, I just gave you a hard time. Everyone, if you've never checked out the videos that Chuck makes at
Yes.
CES, you absolutely need to.
Yes, you
This
do.
man could teach a master class on how to go around a big convention and get all of the content from all of the vendors that you need to hit, and then get it out in a compelling way. Chuck is amazing at what he does. Go
He's a
check out
machine.
his stuff.
He's a machine.
Jeff, I really appreciate that. We did have we had a couple little hiccups, technical hiccups, and we lost one interview that I was crushed because I really want to get it back. So we will be talking to them, but otherwise, Norbert, and I also want to, Jeff was very kind to put me up front, but you wouldn't see all the coverage we do without Norbert Frost up behind the camera. I can't get him out in front of the camera, but he does an amazing job of keeping things straight and keeping us going.
He's the best roadie you could hope for, Chuck.
He really is.
Absolutely. But I believe his count was 57 or 58 if everything turns out that we got.
Not bad.
That's amazing.
That's amazing.
You are just a machine,
I'm a
Chuck.
machine. So I ever say it every time. I
you
witnessed it firsthand, and you are. I couldn't even keep up. I just couldn't.
Well, the funny thing is that there's so many, these are all great people, and maybe we just get lucky. I don't know. We vet things pretty carefully, but you never get the impression that there are many people there that are just phoning it in. That the people that are at the booths, even on day 3 and 4, are excited to be there, and they want to talk to you, and they want to have those conversations. And I think that's one of the reasons that I love CES so much. Just like I used to love Macworld, that there's so much energy. You come home physically exhausted, but very much emotionally recharged.
Yeah. All right. And then before we move on, I just make sure to show what MacVoices.com here. This is the page that's got the first three sessions you recorded at CES. So please go check that out. MacVoices.com. You'll find it there. And thanks, Chuck, for taking the time to give us a bit of an insight on CES, and we'll definitely be hearing more. And then as I see things that are interesting as your videos come up, we may even talk about it again. So, I'm looking forward to your videos for sure.
Anytime, but just let me warn you about one thing: they're going to cost you money.
I know they are,
because
especially
you're going to
road.
want this. Especially road. You're going to want this stuff.
Yeah. So, all right, let's go ahead and move on. We're going to hit beta, but I do want to mention that iOS 26.2.1 is going to be probably coming out very shortly, since 26.3 is actually being prepared. because we can anticipate that towards the end of the month. But it does appear that they're preparing to push out another software update in the interim. Apple's software engineers have started testing this, and according to the Mac Rumors visitors log, as Mac Rumors has said, there's a reliable indicator of an upcoming iOS version. It's probably going to be a minor update to expect from with bug fixes and security patches and such. But so that is that. And then with that, they did seed all the betas. I won't had spend too much time on that, but iOS 26.3 beta, Vision OS 26.3 beta 2. It's beta 2. And then you had watchOS and tvOS, and nothing real notable I could really say. We've got links in the show notes if you want to look a little closer. But yeah, we're getting very close, and it probably is going to look like it's going to be hinting that it's going to be coming out in about around January 28th, I think, is really the date that they've been throwing out there. So, and the other thing too is actually that in 26.3 they are looking at a hint of upcoming end-to-end encryption for RCS messages. Last March, of course, remember that Apple announced the support of this. So it's been almost a year, but the feature is going to be mandatory, where it's prohibited by local regulations, which I would kind of expect maybe in the EU somewhere. So they're talking about that. So I'm excited to hear that we're with who we work with in the Android world. We'll have encrypted messages both ways on anybody that messages you. So that's a good thing. It's a very good thing here. So. And then in the Mac...
Hey, Dave.
Go ahead.
On the end-to-end encryption thing, when Apple announced it coming to RCS a year ago, like you said, they also made it clear at the time that they're waiting for the official standard to be released, because they weren't going to do any pre-release stuff for that. So that's, I think, been the big delay in getting RCS in messages.
Yes. So, and then I want to say hi to everybody in the chat at youtube.com/intouchwithios. And Brian just sent this. He said, glad to see this encryption is enabled. Yes, I agree with you, Brian, that I'm glad to see that. And let's say hi to Webb Bixby. He says he has pizza. So good.
Oh, nice. Let's all head over to Webb's.
I'm going to go over to your place to have some pizza there. And then Wither Buckets joined us as well. He's out there, and thanks for joining. Programming note, I'll just make sure before we move on to Mac, I was going to mention that earlier. We're going to have 2 episodes this week. So yesterday, it's already released. This is, as we're recording this, episode 403 was with the wonderful Katie Fawkes and the mastermind Jeff at Gamet. And we talked about VHS tapes and retro and video. And we just did a whole different topic that's kind of unusual to us. So go check that out. So you'll have 2 episodes hitting in the feeds this week for your pleasure. So
that was a lot of fun to do.
That was a lot of fun. Yeah, we had a lot of blast. Go check that out now. It's in the feed. So
And you weren't even in the AV club.
Well, I was in the AV club, but that's a whole other story.
Dave was. I was AV adjacent.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's a whole other story.
I mean, I did spend a lot of time in the computer lab.
So I will mention on In Touch with Mac this week, Mac OS Tahoe beta 26.3 beta 2 was released. There isn't a ton of things to expect. You're as we've noticed here, so there really isn't have much change that I noticed with that. And then also in Mac, will they announce the new MacBooks this coming end of this month? I hope so, because I've made my decision. I waited for the M5 Pro, and I'm going to purchase as soon as it comes out. I got the money saved. I'm happy. I'm not going to get killed when I buy it. But they're tending to think that it may launch on the 28th of January, which is coming up as we record here. So you're going to expect to see the MacBook Pro line of Macs. And it will be cool that they'll have those. I'm looking forward to see what comes of that. and see who of us will be in the market to switch. I'm near because I got the M1. So, then lastly, I will just mention this is a PSA. If you're still running Monterey, the Google Chrome, if you're those of you who use Google Chrome, this is a PSA that they're dropping support to Mac OS 12 Monterey with Chrome 151. So that means no security updates. So you'll have to stop using it. So hopefully you can move to Safari or another browser. It's still supporting security. So be aware of that. So, and then let's move on to some other topics. This topic I was looking forward to talking about tonight. This is about, I was excited to hear this announcement. Apple introduces the new Creative Studio bundle. I was kind of surprised about this. I think it blindsided all of us here. They introduced the Creative Studio bundle that's offering access to 6 creative apps as well as exclusive AI features and content, but it'll be as part of a single subscription. But welcome to the world of subscriptions, of course. In the US, it's going to be $12.99 a month or $129 per year. It's going to include Final Cut Pro for the Mac and iPad. It'll include Logic Pro with the Mac and iPad, Pixelmator Pro on Mac and iPad. You have the Motion on the Mac, Compressor on the Mac, and Main Stage on the Mac. And Pixelmator Pro, which was previously only available on the Mac, it is coming to the iPad too. So you're going to be able to do all that stuff. So you'll also you'll get access to the AI features and premium features. I don't know. I'm kind of excited about this. I'd like to know what everybody else is here. I'm gonna start with you, Chuck, because you're a big Final Cut Pro user. After you've been looking through this, where's your thoughts on the Final Cut? Because you can keep the current version you have if you don't care about the premium features. So,
Yeah, that's going to be the thing, Dave. If I read an article, and I think I've got this right, somebody correct me if not, that at least for the moment, the quote unquote premium features are also going to be available on the standalone version. So when the flag goes down, you're going to get everything on both. The question is going to be what happens next. How quick are the updates going to happen? What additional features are there going to be for Final Cut, along with all the other apps? I know there was discussion of some fresh templates for Keynote that were going to only be in the bundle. So I'm sort of in a wait and see mode at this point. Because I freeze everything about a month before CES until I finish the videos because
of course.
I don't want to be troubleshooting. But I listen. I kind of think this is a good thing. I know I will be controversial by saying that I don't think subscriptions are a bad thing if you use the software, because it lets the developers get the updates out faster, add new features because they have a cash flow going and they don't have to worry as much about trying to push the sales. They can actually work on developing the software. So I'm optimistic about this, but I think I'm going to sit it out at least for the first month or two and see just what the reports are.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Jeff, what's your thoughts on this? Is it something you're going to explore?
I'm not going to explore this, but that's only because of the workflow I have. It's not necessary for me to explore this. That said, first off, Chuck is right about the whole subscription thing. Doesn't matter if we like it or not. It's actually a necessary part of the software process. And if you want to have your apps and you want to have updates to them, going with perpetual licensing for products like this, it has been proven over and over in the marketplace that subscription is the way that you make this happen. Okay, that out of the way, I was surprised and not that this happened. Surprised only in that I wasn't expecting something like this right now. Not surprised because I was expecting Apple would eventually do something like this, and depending on your workflow and your app needs, this now becomes a viable alternative to Adobe Creative Cloud. And I think that's the big place that Apple's looking to compete. Of course, Microsoft, they have their whole 365 bundle, which overlaps this to a degree as well. The fact that you can still buy perpetual license for individual apps, I think is a smart move on Apple's part, because for some people it does make sense to do that. For others, $12.99 a month to have all of this stuff plus the premium content hub thing and the royalty free content and the extra AI features, it's worth it for those people. So I'm glad that you have options, and I think this is a really smart move. I expect it will drive up usage
Mhm.
of Apple's apps on some level, and for the people that are using the free versions of Pages, Numbers, and Keynotes, don't worry, you still get to keep doing that. So well done.
Yeah, for sure. Eric, what about you? Where's your thoughts on this? You use any of these tools?
Yeah, because Pixelmator Pro coming to the iPad, that I'm most excited about, because I've avoided using it because I want something I can use on the iPad and on the Mac. But like Final Cut Pro has been subscription on the iPad side already. So this is even better because you get the subscription, you can use it on both sides. I will say that the education pricing on the bundle that's not subscription is pretty good. So if somebody needed to, for whatever reason, have it, maybe pick that up right away.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think this is good. And I don't want to see the apps lose support, and subscription is a good way to keep the apps around.
True. And that's the thing. Well, let me just get Jill's thoughts on this too. What is this something you're going to explore?
I did a lot of deep dive, probably like Dave or Chuck did, because I use Final Cut Pro, I use Logic Pro. I haven't used the other pieces of software very much. And I wanted to see, is Final Cut Pro going to get those features? And like Chuck said, for now, yes. And so I probably won't, because I bought the software that I need already, but I'm going to keep my eyeballs on it because there are some very good AI editing features out there that other software has that I've been interested in. And I think that if this will allow it to come along with the subscription fee, because you're right, you need to have money coming in order to do it. And it feels to me like Final Cut Pro is competing with the Adobe, competing with DaVinci Resolve and some other software out there. And this will allow them to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, as it stands today, no, I probably will not, but I might in the future.
Okay. So yeah, I think this is something exciting, but the other things that were mentioned too is I'll have to find the article to see if that's out there, that they said they will allow for the premium features to be available on the current versions now, but I think they pretty much had said that Apple had said that they won't be getting them in the future. I think it's going to be they'll still update them, security updates and such, but any of the premium features you would have to have the subscription, and I think that's fair. Apple just decided to jump into this subscription world. I mean, I have a Microsoft 365 subscription because I'm in that world. I want to have it, and this is about what I pay for on Microsoft. So I might be double dipping here with both. And who knows? It might lean me towards maybe using Pages and Keynote even more, which I pretty much try to use all the time. But working in the corporate world, it's hard because I have to be in the Microsoft world too. So you'll have to see. Got to make a decision of where that's going to go. They also mentioned Apple says is no longer going to be receiving updates for the Pixelmator app on iOS on your iPhone. I can't even imagine using Pixelmator on an iPhone. It's kind of a small screen, but I guess people were using it, but they aren't going to be updating that anymore. So so be aware of that. And like we mentioned, that the iPad version is coming. It's going to have Apple Pencil support, which is even be a better thing when it comes to that too. So, and I believe you get the iPad version and the Mac version in the bundle. So that's going to be great. So anything else I missed that caught your eye with this announcement this week, you guys?
Did you mention student pricing?
Yes. Oh yeah. The
That to
pricing.
me is a huge part of this.
Yeah. So student pricing is $2.99 a month. Think it was. So it's at $10 less than the full version.
Yeah.
And then was it that's 30? What is it? How much is that? The
$29.99,
$29.99
$30 a year
for the year for a student. That's awesome. That's very fair for students to have that.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
I
Jill.
was a little perplexed about putting pages and numbers in that map. You know what I mean? Like one seems to be
Yeah.
one world and one word seems to be the creative world. And I kind of thought there's going to be a lot of people who might want to do pages and numbers that don't want the, Final Cut Pro and everything else because they don't do anything like that. So I wonder if more of this is coming.
Maybe we'll see, because I think they want to keep. I mean, just like what Microsoft does, they bundle all of their products to do that. I mean, Apple I think wanted to do the same thing. I kind of like this because Final Cut Pro was its own thing, and then Logic Pro is its own thing, and then people. And I still use GarageBand, but now if I'm going to decide to subscribe to this, maybe I start leaning towards using Logic Pro more. I know it's quite advanced. I would have a bit of a slight learning curve. It's similar to GarageBand, but there's a lot more it can do that I probably don't need. But if they're bundling it for all of the suite of software, yeah, it might be something I might consider using. So we'll see. Yeah, so that's it. Check it out, and it's coming out on January 28th. Now, incidentally, think of that date we just mentioned about the Mac. Maybe we thought maybe that could be the date to when the Mac comes out for that reason. To be ready for this bundle. So, okay, let's move on a little here, and we're going to talk a little bit about iOS 26. It's been showing some unusually slow adoption rates after months of its release. The analytics data have been unreliable because Safari on iOS 26 has been reporting a different operating system version in the user agents that strings analytics services. And there's a reason right in there that you kind of have to question on, trusting these things of any slow adoption rates. But it was published by StatCounter, and it was indicating that around 15 to 16% of active iPhones worldwide are running any version of iOS 26. And the breakdown shows down to roughly or at least about 1.1%. In contrast, more than 60% of iPhones tracked by StatCounter remain on iOS 18 and 18.7. And I think the reasoning in here was the fact that Apple doesn't force you to update it. So it was always down at the bottom. So, working in the corporate world, we try to restrict installing it right away because we want to make sure to do a testing. It isn't going to cause any issues. But you get to a point where you can unblock it through the MDM, and then they'll start installing it. So only concern with that with me is I know I'm going to get hit up with questions because iOS 26 does have some differences, especially with the full screen and windowing, the windows that you get to use with it. So, but every year we talk about this, what the adoption rate is for all the latest version of the OS. It'll pick up. I think it will. People will get over liquid glass complaints and all the Windows stuff. Anybody have any views on this?
Yes.
I thought you would.
I think that the conclusions from this report are patently wrong.
Okay, good.
Because what they're doing is counting who's using an operating system based on web browsers. So what I think this actually shows is that only a small percentage of iPhone users switch from Safari to another browser that isn't masking the operating system version. I think that the adoption rate is significantly higher than this report says, and I think that when Apple talks about their adoption rates, they of course they're saying, yeah, everyone's loving it, but they also will say, X% of users are on this version. Okay, Apple can't lie about that. That would get them in serious trouble with the government, because lying like that would essentially be intentionally manipulating shareholder value.
It's true.
And they can't do that. So honestly, I think they have come to the wrong conclusion with this report. And I'm not trying to be like Apple fanboy. Hey, they're wrong because Apple's cool. Not the case. I just honestly think that they're reading the wrong information from the data they're collecting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Chuck?
Jeff, I'm going to back you up on that, but I'm also going to point out that if there is a little bit of a reduction in the rate of adoption, I think a lot of it has to do with the way that the press just beat the daylights out of liquid glass.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to tell you, when I always hesitate, not because of the liquid glass thing, but I always, let everybody else take the slings and arrows first, and then I'll do the upgrade. Once I did it, I was like, okay, where is all this controversy? Where are all these horrible interface elements that people are despising? There are a couple noticeable ones that still catch my eye, but for the most part, I had to go and look for it. And I feel like it was really done a disservice. And in the later versions, they've also changed controls so you could reduce the opacity so that it's even less of an issue. And you guys may not agree with me on that, but I just didn't feel like the liquid glass thing was that big a deal, especially on iOS.
I'm with you. On iOS and iPadOS, I think liquid glass is a non-issue. I think it's generally a non-issue on the Mac. However, the interface issues on the Mac, where it's like straight up dumpster fire level, it really doesn't have that much to do with liquid glass. It's the other things that Apple did with the interface that messed it up.
Yeah.
Yep, I agree. Jill, Eric, you have anything to add?
The developers that have posted results about percentages of OSs all have been showing significantly higher numbers. So yeah, I think the adoption rate is going just fine. I think if there was an issue with adoption rate, we would have seen a bunch of ads by now from Apple continuing to talk about how great and wonderful life would be if only you would update, or said better than that, but and I other than what we saw when it first came out, I haven't seen that. So I don't think Apple's panicking that people aren't updating. I have plenty of issues with the interface, look and feel and levels of transparency in liquid glass, but some of the accessibility features that have been improved, I really appreciate. So it's kind of a half and half for me, and overall much better. So yeah, everyone I know has upgraded.
I was gonna say, yeah, me too. I don't know anyone who stayed behind, but the other part of it is that the reason I believe that this had to not be true is how many people upgraded their phones over the course of the year and automatically got that iOS. So that would almost mean like nobody who had old phones upgraded, and it was just all brand new phones because you had no choice. And there's more and more browsers. There's now 1,000,001 browsers you can choose from. A lot of people are in love with Firefox, or people are in love with Chrome, or I like Brave, and so people pick their things. And if you're going to count it on browser, it's not going to. It just point stands is that it's not accurate. And to think of how many people bought iPhones this year, and those are all automatically 26, it can't be right. I mean, it's just not even possible. So
yeah, absolutely. All right, so let's go ahead and we'll move on to this big announcement that happened earlier this week. Google Gemini's partnership with Apple will go beyond Siri revamp. Basically what was announced that Google and Apple are working together to integrate Gemini into the S Lady. So they entered a multi-year collaboration where under the next generation of Apple Foundation models will be based on Apple's Google Gemini models and cloud technology. The company said in a statement that this will help. These models will help power future Apple Intelligence features including a more personalized S-Lady coming this year, which is way overdue. So there was an announcement that was made. Then this was news from posted. It was news from Google actually that said it. So that is interesting to see how this goes. And Apple is excited about the innovations, new experience, and that the partnership will unlock what it will unlock. But the statement did not provide the details about any specific features yet. So go figure. It's unclear if Gemini is going to power any existing Apple Intelligence features, such as writing tools or image playground or notification summaries. So maybe this is just kind of a more personalized version of the S-Lady that's going to be expected to be introduced, probably with iOS 26.4, which will be probably around April timeframe in 2026. So, Jeff, what is your thoughts on this?
Well, for all those people that were saying Apple couldn't figure out how to do all this AI stuff and they're going to have to turn to someone else. Okay, here's what you're saying, and it's a thing. It doesn't surprise me. I guess this is the episode of Jeff not being surprised and surprised at the same time, because I wasn't surprised, but at the same time, yeah. I'm glad that it's been made clear right up front that this is not going to be directly tying into Gemini. And so Apple will be doing their own thing and still maintaining the privacy that they have been touting as part of Apple Intelligence. I think it's very clear that Apple trying to get into this space and do this whole thing wasn't going to work because they couldn't get the focus that they needed from their teams. They kept losing people, and they're trying to do this in a way that stayed true to their privacy goals. And they couldn't bring it together, so they were going to have to partner with someone. This doesn't necessarily have to be a permanent thing, just like with Apple Maps. Originally, that was powered by Google Maps. And when Apple reached the point where they felt like they could go it on their own, they did. And it wouldn't surprise me if down the road, that's what happens with this as well.
Yeah. Chuck, you got anything on this?
Yeah, Jeff said a lot there that I agree with. The privacy thing. How long have we been not making excuses, but pointing out that Apple's always had one hand tied behind its back, maintaining their privacy stance where others were just out there doing things that were legally and morally questionable to advance their AIs or their large language models. And so I'm, in fact, in some ways, I'm glad that Apple has done this, because now they're not competing with some of those. They're benefiting from some of that Wild West mentality, without having to take on the burden of both the burden of responsibility as well as the burden financially to develop this or continue to try to develop it. Now they can kind of sit back, because if you think about it, Apple was trying to. Apple sort of broke their own rule book. They were trying to be out there first in AI, especially as AI became such a big thing. I mean, we'd been seeing what we all know as Apple Intelligence sneak in without it ever being called AI, like lifting subjects out of pictures and those kind of things that we could do, and recognition of people and places and things in photos. And then when the whole hockey stick happened and everything was, getting hot, that's when Apple appeared to be falling behind. And so I kind of feel good about this. And Jeff also made the great point that this doesn't have to be forever. They could strike another deal with someone else, or if they get their own product to the point where they're comfortable with it, they could then just give you that and give you Gemini or ChatGPT or Perplexity or Grok or whatever as an option. So
Or Apple
I feel
Think.
like Apple Think, okay, there you go.
I just made that one up.
Yeah, but I like it. I want a T-shirt with that,
I like
Jeff.
it.
Okay.
But yeah,
Think
so
differently.
Yeah, I think that this feels like a good move that will quiet down some of the detractors. I do still resent some of the press implications that Apple's had to turn to Gemini or to Google, or Apple's leaning on Google. I think this is just a good strategic partnership.
Yeah.
They can both be true. It's a good strategic partnership, and Apple's having to lean on Google.
Yeah, you're right, Jeff. You're right.
Yep.
The other thing with this is I think Google comes out of this with a huge win, because everybody knows that Google has everybody that they have that uses Google as their resource. Google harvests all of that information, and so Google's had sort of a privacy problem for quite a while. They are picking up a major, we're concerned about privacy win out of this, even if they're not doing it directly, because the ultimate in privacy companies is using using a Gemini model, and the difference between using Gemini and using a Gemini model, I think, is muddied. So this is a big win for Google. So I'm not sure the partnership will continue for a long time, because it's a danger for Apple, but right now it's a win for both of them.
Anything you want to add, Jill, before we move on?
Yeah, I was going to say that overall, I mean, probably anyone that ever saw me knows that I'm not a big fan of Google in general, although I use some of their products. And I was hoping, because I do like OpenAI so much, that there was going to be more there with OpenAI, although they're doing the health aspect. So you sort of see Apple carving up different AIs for different purposes, which is interesting. But I think that is true. And Gemini has gotten so much better recently than it used to be at the very beginning, that it has caught up pretty well with ChatGPT, which I think is the leader in this area. So it's solid in its quality work. It's just, I do trust, again, because of Apple and its security, I do trust them more. And so I trust that they made a decision that's going to protect us. And so, like I said, I would love to have ChatGPT in there, but, if this is going to be on their way to their own thing, I think that's great.
Yeah, no, I would agree.
Side note, this will make Gemini the most popular LLM practically overnight when it rolls out, because it'll be the default on all the iOS devices out there.
Yep, it will. All right, so let's move on to the news as before we get close to the end of the show here. A couple firmware upgrades that happened this week. One of them, and it seems like it happens pretty frequently here, Apple released a new firmware upgrade to the iPhone Air MagSafe battery. Another firmware update, but there are no specifics of what it includes. So there is a new version, went from version 99 to 101. Who knows what they did, but you kind of get worried with the way things are with batteries, having to have multiple firmwares. That could that battery be a problem? I mean, like we always
have to believe that it's the chargy thing, that it gets to 80% and then it cuts off, and because that got changed in 26. So I have to believe it has something to do with that.
Yeah, it has to be.
Anyway, sorry to interrupt you.
No, not at all. No, so it's what it is, and not surprising. Always happening, but always good is the Apple did release the AirPods Pro 3 firmware upgrade. And so this is a new version. Again, support document just doesn't say much other than bug fixes and other improvements. They never give any details of what it does. So no other AirPod models are receiving firmware upgrades other than the AirPods Pro 3. So you kind of have to wonder, maybe they did some new features in there. What you have to do is make sure that you have it plugged in to when you're using them. They'll just get automatically updated. You can't force it. Just make sure that they're up to date. That's generally what happens when it comes to firmware upgrades here. So, and then we've got Shazam. Shazam has come out with a new fast forward playlist, and it did reveal some music artists to actually set to rise in 2026. So they republished their annual fast forward list, which is an accompanying Apple Music playlist that lists that list takes a look ahead at some of the most exciting music artists that are going to be discovered through the song identification tool. 2026's list of features are more than 60 music artists that have poised to have a breakthrough year. Apple describes this year's playlist as, keep it brief here, that they get millions of requests from users around the world who are curious about the artist or behind a song. And they're also requests coming all over TikTok videos and car commercials and such. So some well-known, someone not so well-known. But you got to remember that Shazam was acquired by Apple back in 2018. It's been quite a while since that happened. I don't think, Chuck, do you use Shazam much? Because you're not and I think a lot of us here are probably not ones that are looking at the current music scene here on the Billboard charts. But I want some heavy metal in this list too, right? Oh, are you muted, Chuck?
He was speaking at a frequency that bats and dogs could hear, and they were like, "Yep, everything he's saying is right."
Okay,
young people think, thanks.
Go ahead.
No, I'm not. I use Shazam like everybody else. I hear a track somewhere, and it's like, oh, I don't recognize that, and I want to know who it is. And sometimes I'm pleasantly surprised. Sometimes I'm a little horrified that I even liked it in the first place. But it still is something that I would guess I probably use it 3 to 5 times a week.
Okay,
maybe depending on the week and where I am. So, and does that drive me to discover music by that particular artist? Yeah, sometimes. Not always. Sometimes it just causes me to add the track individually as opposed to really looking for the artist.
Mm-hmm. Jeff, but do you use Shazam?
I do. I don't know how often I'm using it, but I'm using it every week. Mm-hmm. And it's been a great discovery tool for years and years and years. And I really like it. It's the place I use it most often is in the car if I'm listening to one of the indie radio stations or one of the jazz. It doesn't matter. One of the radio stations around, and something will come on. I'm like, I don't know who this is, but I really like it. Ask Shazam what it is, and now I've got the list of what I've searched for, and it's a great discovery tool.
Yep. Jill, Eric, do you use it?
Yes, because I frequently get music where I can't remember the name of a song if my life depends on it. Sometimes it's my own music, but I'm not next to wherever it's playing from. And it's like, what is this? So I've got that little widget thing on my phone that hit the button, poof, comes back, and it says, "Oh yeah, not only do you have it, you've already added it to your playlist. You're good to go." Or it's not in there, and it'll add it right in, which I think is really cool because there's a lot of music I liked that I didn't know what it was, and so I wait until I hear it again, and you add it right into your playlist. It's really convenient.
Yeah. How about you, Joe?
I would have sold everything to have this back in the 80s. Because I spent my entire life trying to figure out. And the last time I used it was 7 years ago in a bar that had a song that sounded like Oingo Boingo, and it wasn't them. And I still don't know who it was because it was too slow to identify it. But I don't use it now, but I would have in my heyday. So,
yeah. And then in the chat room here, Witherbucket says that I tried Shazam on my watch and it always seems to take forever. Google Song Search through the widget is way better for my usage. I don't tend to find that Shazam is that slow. I don't know if you guys did. You guys do? I know. Usually it works pretty good, especially since it's
it was ages ago slow, but now I think it's fast.
In my experience, I'm better off using my phone for the Shazam searches compared to my Apple Watch. Yeah. And I think it's because of the microphone in the devices. I think that the iPhone microphone it's more sensitive. And it's just better picking up the sound.
Yeah.
But you also might ask what watch, Witherbucket, how old of an Apple Watch, because they've all gotten faster.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's
He
a
has
good
an
idea.
Ultra One. He has an Ultra One.
Yeah, that still should be okay.
oh, okay, that should be okay.
Yep. Hey, Jim Ray just jumped us in the chat room. How you doing, Jim? Glad to see you. He says, I don't even know how to use the radio in my car. All the music I listen to comes from my phone.
That's because Jim is a man of discerning taste.
There you go. Oh, gosh. So good to see you, Jim. So let's move on and talk about Apple services. They had quite a record year in this was in the Apple's newsroom for services. It had growth expansion, and then all kinds of great year with rolling out game changes and music and news and the Find My services and all this stuff. And here's the numbers. They've had 850 million average weekly users in the App Store, 100 billion of incremental merchant sales. You got 36% of increased usage and engagement in Apple TV, and number one year for the Apple Music listenership and new subscriber growth. So they are just continuing to expand and keep going, and the movies are just been amazing. The TV shows are just incredible. They signed a contract to be the official broadcaster of F1, which I'm looking forward to. That's going to be fun because the F1 movie got me excited. Apple Pay has been going crazy, and the digital IDs are now here. So it just goes on and on. In fact, I have a story. I actually got to use my digital ID at the airport when I went to visit Jeff in Denver. So I walked right up to it, and you were already gone, I think, when I did it. But I just went right in front of it and just scanned my phone, and boom, done. I didn't have to deal with a thing.
Isn't that just awesome?
It's the most amazing thing in the world. So my Illinois driver's license I got to do that, and then I could even have used my digital ID for my passport if I wanted to. So I can use either one. So it's pretty cool. I don't know. No, I don't know about the passport. I think they may not be allowing it just yet, but maybe they are. I don't know. I didn't try it. So any thoughts on Apple services? We all pay for them. So I pay for a good amount of it every month on the Apple One bundles. So any thoughts on that?
I think I have Apple One, and I think it is just one of the most favorite subscriptions I have next to SetApp. I just use it so much. And I used to get those rinky-dink games that keep wanting you to buy stuff all the time, and Apple Arcade doesn't, that's the rule. You can't, they don't sell you anything. And it just is like my number one go-to thing. And I love Apple One, like I said, probably more than almost anything.
Yeah. How about you, Chuck?
Yeah, to circle back, I feel like services revenue is going to benefit from the bundle we talked about earlier, with Final Cut and all. But yeah, I use, in fact, Apple Music was streaming almost all day today, just because that's, it puts your whole library in your pocket, and then if you want to go to lunch, you take it with you. Yeah.
And good you mentioned SetApp, Jill. As I just remember that just got meant on a news feed today about SetApp. SetApp is pulling the iOS App Store in the EU. And 9 to 5 Pat Mac reported that the SetApp mobile third-party app store for iPhone fails due to quote unquote still evolving in complex terms. Since the EU antitrust legislation forced Apple to allow third-party apps like the iPhones with the block, with Mac Pause Setup app mobile setup was one of the first to take advantage of this, but the company just announced it's closing it down. Like it says, I think it's the terms. It's really tough, I guess, to compete. So they're going to shut it down on February 15th, February 16th of 2026. And going to sunset it. So the closure may force subscribers to take out individual subscriptions for at least some of the apps. But I think this is only happening in the EU. It's not happening in the SetApp. I have the SetApp iOS apps that are part of the SetApp subscription, and Chuck is smiling because, or he might be smiling because of some of the notes in our Zoom chat. But what do you think on this SetApp announcement here?
I'm a big setup fan. I'm a big MacPaw fan.
Yeah.
This really kind of didn't surprise me.
No.
Because I think with the sandboxing and all, it's a lot more difficult to attract users the way and developers the way that you can or they could and have and do with SetApp. I think this was a great experiment for them to try. I'm not surprised it didn't work out because of some of those challenges.
Yeah.
But I applaud them for taking a shot at it.
Yeah. No, I agree. So anybody else have thoughts on this? Jeff?
This is a reminder that Apple is not your friend. Apple's goal is to increase value for shareholders. That's, I mean, when you get down to the bottom line, that's what their job is. It just so happens that Apple makes products that actually do bring value into our lives. And generally speaking, they do it in a way that that can be more appealing to us than what other companies are doing. But Apple is not our friend, and they have no interest in making it easy for third-party app stores to work anywhere. And I think this just helps drive that home. But good on MacPaw for giving it a shot.
Yeah.
And now that I've said all that, at what point, and I'm just tossing this out there, I'm not taking us down a rabbit hole, just something to think about. At what point has it gone too far with governments dictating how businesses operate? I mean, was it appropriate for the EU to force this in the first place? And like I said, I'm not trying to start a new conversation, just something to think about.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
That was going to be my conversation, is that there's the regulatory landscape's too hard. So it makes it difficult for these people.
It wasn't easy for Apple, but at the same time, I don't think Apple wanted to make it easy.
Yeah, right.
I so much want to have this conversation, but I won't hijack the show.
Well, maybe you have a special Mac Voices edition.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's go and move on. Apple Podcasts is officially more popular than it's ever been. Apple published updates on a variety of services, of course, we just talked about. And one of the most surprising details involved Apple Podcasts. It celebrated its best year yet, despite strong competition from YouTube and Spotify. It had record listeners, plays, and subscribers. Just a few years ago, Apple Podcasts was a lone dormant player in the podcast space. iTunes was where podcasts first thrived, and that was even inspired by Apple's iPod. But within the last couple of years, apparently, competitors like YouTube and Spotify were eating up the huge chunk of the podcast market. Because of these changes, Apple Podcasts seem to be more of a niche player. And yet, Apple says 2025 was its best year as ever, recording record listeners, plays, and subscribers too. I guess the most natural explanation is by Apple's losing its market share, and the market overall has grown significantly. So, in other words, it may own a much smaller piece of the podcasting pie than it did before, but that pie is now huge. And a few of us here being podcasters, I would tend to agree it is a place to doing that. So, and Jeff, I'm going to put this broadcast on here, what you just said in our chat in Zoom. Apple is doing a great job of spinning podcast app popularity. I would agree with that. What do you think?
Well, okay, you put me on the spot. That's fair. Yeah. This is like me saying 2025 was the best year yet for me speaking Spanish. Like maybe I learned a word. This is a non-announcement. This I'm not going to make you edit, but the words that I want to use to describe this you would have to do an edit.
Okay.
No, seriously, Apple is trying to spin we're not number one into a positive. If you want to look at the big names in podcast aggregators, the places where people go, number one, YouTube. Number two, Spotify. Number three, who cares? Because, I mean, of course we all care because it matters, and people do go to Apple Podcasts to find things, and it is an important player in this game. But come on, we had our best year yet. Yeah, well, so did I, because I learned that "Donde está casa pantalones" is a stupid thing to say.
Hey,
Where is my house of pants?
I knew you would want to share
I
this.
heard pants in there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I knew
there
you
were
wanted to
definitely
share
pants.
this and didn't put you on the spot because I knew you would want to say something about it. So that's why I did that.
It is so easy to read me.
I know. It is.
This is why everyone should play poker with me, because you'll just win. At the same time, never play poker with Dave Ginsburg, and I'm not going to elaborate on that. Just trust me. Never play poker with Dave Ginsburg.
Okay.
Wow.
We'll talk after dark. Chuck, go ahead.
I hear what Jeff's saying. The one thing though that I think needs to factor in here a little bit is that Apple has been adding and improving the podcast app. And I think as a result, that is, it's their best year. Well, I'm glad to hear it, because, it's not good if you're improving your app and things are going the other direction. So I feel like there may be a little bit of legitimacy here, because it is starting to offer some features that may not be found in some of the other major podcast players. And that to me is, that's one of the big, pardon me, one of the big choices here is, if you're going to be a podcast consumer, how are you going to consume it? What software are you going to use? To Jeff's point, you have Spotify, you have YouTube, but podcast aficionados, I do not for a second believe, spend a lot of time on Spotify or YouTube. I think they're running through something like Overcast or Apple Podcasts.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jeff. Didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, nope, you're fine. I was agreeing with you. Yep. I think that the third-party podcast apps are incredibly popular, and so they're getting that share that Apple wants to have in the podcast app.
Yep.
Jill's still thinking,
Well,
I want to know more about this poker thing.
Yeah, I do want to know. But I remember when they came out with the podcast app, and they said, "Oh, we're not going to allow other podcast apps on the platform, because why? We already made it. We already made a perfect one, and it's great." And it wasn't great back then, but it isn't really good now. It doesn't have the features that I'm looking for, which are the playlists and the cutting, the speeds or the cutting the gaps and all these other things that other apps have. But if they started getting that, I probably would switch over, because I've had a number of significant bugs with other podcast apps that I would go back to it. But I think, like I said, they've come a long way and they've improved it. And you're right. They had one user before, now they have three. Wow, it's a 300% increase or a 200% increase, and so you can play with stats all day long. But I think it is solidly a good app now, and I'm anxious to see what they're going to do in the future with it.
I agree. It is a good app.
It is. It's gotten better. I always was not. I've been so enjoying using Pocket Casts. I've just kind of avoided it. But I probably need to put a little more focus on it. But I keep that mention them. So yep, they do a good job.
Well, and just for clarity, I'm not slamming the podcast app, because Jill, you're right. This is a really good app, and they've made a lot of improvements. What I'm slamming is the way Apple is trying to spin a positive into promoting the podcast app the way they did.
Yep.
Totally.
All right. So let's go on to Apple has adjusted the trade-in values for iPhone Max and more. This actually was just released out today as we're recording here. There's a chart on the link in the show notes from the Mac Rumors, what the pricing has gone up. So we see a little bit of increase in some of the iPhones, especially the 16 Pro Max, up to about $20 there, all the way down to it seems some little bit increased values. But as you start dropping down a little below, and then you're down to the 12, and the 12 Pro, you're at 160, stayed the same, and then you got the 13, which is at about 180. So you're going to start seeing that the lower end models, the 14s, which still a lot of people are using, that's still about $300 on the Pro. So that's not too bad. And then going down to the Macs, well, they still give you $40 for the iPhone 8. Wow. I'm surprised you can give that. Must be that. Yeah, that's a kind of a bonus there. And then the iPads, you have the Pros around $700 up to, of course, and then all the way down to the Mini about $255, and then the Max. You got the new values for the Pro. This is kind of strange. It went from an old value of $760 to $2,515. Really, I have to see what my M1's going to get me when I decide to trade it in. If it's gone up that much,
Yeah,
wow.
I
It's not going to be
think
that much.
Apple.
Yeah.
I think Apple realized that screwing over your customers like that is bad form.
Yeah,
Because seriously, that was way too low for some of the models.
It seemed, especially I have the M1 Pro 16-inch, and it's got 1 terabyte storage. I mean, and you're going to give me $600 for that, So then the MacBook Air was up to $900 from $540. So yeah, the Mac pricing, even like the iMac, is from $375 to $875. So this is some good stuff. How about the Mac Pro? They're still offering $3,215 for it when it was $2,520. So
is that because they're adding newer models in there?
Yeah, maybe. It's hard to say. So Apple Watch prices are pretty stagnant. I never got. I mean, I kept my Series 9, and my wife ended up going with it. So, and then I guess there was an update after this that Apple had just adjusted the published trading prices for the second time today, and there's some wild swings. Now they're quoting. Oh, here we go. Now they're quoting a $710 for a MacBook Pro. So the pricing goes all over the place. So. Yeah, I got teased there, but not looking at the fine print at the bottom of the article. But check that out. So it was very cool. And then the last story I wanted to mention, unless anybody else had anything to add to that, I wanted to talk about is the Apple TV has unveiled a major sci-fi series. It's coming next month. Monarch Legacy of Monsters is returning to Apple TV next month. It's for season 2. It's the sci-fi epic with Godzilla and King Kong. Just revealed a brand new Titan in its first trailer. Ooh. So Apple TV has a strong library of sci-fi favorites with its mainstream Severance and Pluribus. I got to finish Pluribus. I got way so into it. I haven't finished it yet. I got to watch it.
No spoilers, but yes, you have to watch it.
I think I was up to episode 6. I was watching on the plane going to see you and coming home. So, and the Foundation, Silo, and Dark Matter. But these big epics was this one. So, I'm gonna go back and I gotta watch this one too. So you guys excited about this?
Yes.
Yeah, it's on your list.
Well, my brother and I had a very big conversation, and he is probably going to be very excited about this show. But I am not into giant monsters. I am more into space and old school fantasy. So,
Jill, for me,
and look
I
what
was
he said.
very worried about this just being Monster Fight of the Week.
mm-hmm.
And I was so pleasantly surprised when it was about the people, and the monsters are kind of on the periphery, occasionally right in the middle of it. But it's about the people and the effect that the monsters are having on the people.
Gotcha. It reminds me of Quiet then. That Quiet series that's on Netflix where monsters come down and they hear everything and then they kill you. And it really has to do with more what happened to society when you have a monster that kills you when it can hear anything. So maybe it's a little bit like that, where what do people do about that?
Yeah, and what happens in the aftermath of the big battles that were in the movies.
Yeah.
And Jill, I'll tell you what, I'm kind of a passive fan of Godzilla and King Kong and all that. And so when this first was announced, it's like, okay, I'll give it a shot. And I was blown away by how much I liked it and how well done it was. That to Jeff's point, it wasn't just, monsters crashing through cities. There was a lot more to it. And so I would tell you to give it maybe 2 episodes and see. And if it's not for you, that's fine. But it is not absolutely not what I thought it would be. And I have no reason to believe that'll change. And so You know, it's one I wish everyone would at least give a shot, even if you're not a monster fan.
Okay, I'll do it.
In the
Tonight.
chat, Wither Bucket totally nailed it. The best kaiju entertainment is about the people. Absolutely true, and that's why Godzilla minus one is really, in my opinion, like top of the Godzilla movies.
Yep.
That was part of the conversation too. Yeah. So no, that makes a difference, and I will try it out.
Still really good monsters, but the people matter.
Mm-hmm.
All right. All right. So before we go, I wanted to give a shout out to a couple of Mac user groups that Jeff and I were presented this past week. The first one is the Naples Mug. It's naplesmug.com. I spoke on this past Tuesday, and we had a really great time. I did a session on cross-platform screen capture across all the platforms and beyond. A lot of good interaction. Had a lot of fun. It was cool that the pre-meeting Sheeta, shout out to Sheeta. She's always listening. I appreciate you listening, Sheeta.
Hi, Sheeta.
Hi, Sheeta.
We mentioned Drive Buddy last time. I think Chuck, you weren't here, and I don't know if you did see this or not. But this is an app that allows you to be able to scan every single one of your drives, and it allows you to create a catalog and have it offline. It creates CSV files, and it also creates one search all your drives. So you can plug in 45 different drives and have them hooked up, and it will do a catalog of every single one of them. And it stores it locally, so you don't have to go plug the drives in. And then you'll know by creating kind of a catalog, and there's the CSV export. It's not that expensive. It's only like $19.99. It's a one-time charge. Yeah, she shouted out that I twisted around and she bought it. So I thought this was awesome. A really cool app. And thanks for mentioning that, Sheeta. And then it was Mac and Tech that we had. We also had Jeff speaking about health, and we had a really good time with that as well. They're a good bunch of people. There's their website, and
and Dave was instrumental in making my presentation a success. So Dave, thank you for your help.
Oh, of course. There was Apple Health and Apps. Yeah, so we it was kind of fun that we went through and as you were talking, I had the iPhone hooked up and I made some dummy health data, because obviously I don't want to be showing my health data on, on a presentation. So two really cool groups, and please check them out. I'm gonna have a link in the show notes for both those organizations, and you can join them if you want to. Especially NMUG, they're a pretty amazing Macintosh user group with all kinds of meeting classes, and they do weekly meetings, which is amazing. You can go back and watch them. A lot of good. In fact, Terry White's going to be on next month with them. Or next week. I think it's next week. Yeah, as we're recording here. So I'm
going to be in April with Naples.
And you're speaking there, yes, right, as well. They've got us all. I think I'm going to be in April again too. So I have to start thinking about what I'm going to talk about next. So also shout out to Tucson Mac user groups. I'm speaking with them on February 17th. So I'm going to do the same presentation for them. So it's a busy season with that Mac user group, so I'm excited, and I'm sure Chuck appreciates it too, because he's always been very supportive of Mac user groups. So, but with that, thank you. What a great show! I really appreciate you being here. So before we go, I want to make sure I find out where everybody can be found. I'll go reverse this time. I'm going to start with Jill McKinley. Thank you always for being here. It's such a pleasure to have you part of the show. And where can people find you?
Well, you can, the best way to find me is to go to jillfromthenorthwoods.com. That is just links to all the ways of contacting me and all my podcasts, and you can find them. And I just rehosted all my podcasts, so they should be faster and better than ever. So thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely. So glad you're here. And Jeff Gamet, so glad you're here. Where can people find you?
Well, let's see. How about on social media as Jay Gamet, mostly on Mastodon, PixelFed, and Blue Sky right now. And then for shows, Tuesdays on Chuck's Mac Voices Live, here with you on Thursdays for In Touch with iOS, then on the British Tech Network for The Big Show and The Mac Show.
Mhm.
Brian Chaffin and I do The Context Machine, and Patrice Brendamore and I do Retro Rewatch. And as we record, I think it's okay for me to let everyone know that Friday, January 16th, that's when the next episode of Retro Rewatch drops. And that will be the season 3 cliffhanger episode, end of the season cliffhanger episode for Stargate SG-1.
There you go. There's your plug right there. Retro Rewatch. There you
Everything
go.
tastes better in a Retro Rewatch mug.
It does.
Nice.
And Chuck Joyner, thank you for being here. Glad you're back with us after your long CES adventure. Where can people find you?
MacVoices.com. That's where you'll find all of the CES coverage as we get it edited and out to you, along with mixed in with some of our regular Mac Voices content. Tuesday nights live at youtube.com/MacVoicesTV and on the socials as at Chuck Joyner. Thank you, Dave.
Thank you. Thank you. Last but certainly not least, Eric Bolden, where can people find you?
It can be found on Mastodon at eabolden at mas.to. Otherwise, Monday nights on Vision Profiles, covering all the Vision OS stuff with Dave and Marty. Tuesdays on Mac Voices with all the Mac OS news, and of course Thursdays on In Touch with iOS, kind of rounding out the week, covering out everything else and summing it all up.
Excellent. Thank you, Eric. And all right, that's a wrap for this week. Please send your comments, questions, suggestions to our email address, which is feedback@intouchwithios.com. You can follow us on Blue Sky and Mastodon at In Touch with iOS. Support the show. Buy me a coffee at intouchwithios.com/coffee. We'd really appreciate it. You can become a patron of the show by going to patreon.com/intouchwithios. We have 2 tiers available to support the show. We'd really appreciate it. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe when you are so you're notified when we're live streaming, which is on Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/intouchwithios, where you can be in the chat room. We saw Wither Bucket, and we had Brian in the chat, Webb, Craig was in the chat. Thank you all for being here this week. You can hang out with us live here while we're recording. You can watch the live stream and watch the past live streams, and you can also listen to past shows. You can subscribe to to the show in your favorite podcatcher, including Apple Podcasts, as we just talked about, Pocket Casts, Overcast, and many others. But better yet, just go to our website, intouchwithios.com, where all the links to all the ways to listen to us are on that site. I am Dave Ginsburg. You can find me, and you can find me at the following places here besides this show on Vision Profiles on Monday nights with Eric and Monty, on Tuesday nights on Mac Voices Live with Chuck and the gang, and then Thursday nights here recording, and then on the Mac Show on the British Tech Network on Fridays. And don't forget, if you're already watching this episode and you may have missed it, we did record episode 403 this week with Katie folks and Jeff Gamet and I, and had a great blast talking about videos and VHS tapes and streaming and all kinds of fun stuff. So with that, thanks again for listening. Thanks again for being here. We'd really appreciate it. And until next time, we'll talk again soon. Thank you very much. Thanks, Weather
Well
Bucket.
done.
You're also, thank you very much. You're awesome. He made it to both shows this week. I love it. Love it. All right, I'm going to say goodbye to the stream. Have a great night. Thank you for joining us.
Bye, live stream.
Bye.
Good night, stream.
Bye.